My name is Mark. I'm a beekeeper. I am on the board of directors of the Barnstable County Beekeeper Association. I am a true organic gardener. I raise Coternic quail. I have chickens, thousands of perennials and fruit trees, huge vegetable gardens, fish pond. I have it all. So I'm a busy guy. So I have a lot of experience, years and years and years of experience of keeping bees. But our native pollinators are in rapid decline. It's pretty bad right now. It's tough being a bee. Okay? It really is. It's tough being a bee these days. And it's the same old story. Loss of habitat, pesticides, flowers and bees out of sync, the whole 9 yards. So I thought about that when he said that. Last year, if you were here, I talked mainly about honeybees. I gave you a good description where they came from, an economical value that they bring to the world, and pollinator efforts. But more importantly, I thought about it, it's our native pollinators that are in trouble, okay? They're the ones truly, truly in trouble. And what I want to talk to you about today is how to attract them to your backyard, how you can keep native bees so you can have a better vegetable garden, more beautiful flowers, and it's easy to do. There are over 24,000 species of bees worldwide. Some 24,000 species live right here in North America. And the honeybee, just so you know, I'm talking about pollinators, okay? Honeybees are not native to North America, okay? They were never here. They were brought over here in the late 17th century by English settlers, okay? And they've been here ever since. So honeybees, even though you've heard different things about honeybees, or oh, they're in decline, they're in trouble, whatnot, honeybees do have their problems, believe me. I'm a beekeeper. But they're not in any trouble of extinction. It's our native pollinators that are in trouble. And so I thought about that. I'm like, so what kind of bees would be around here that people would know or recognize? So obviously bumblebee. So what I want to talk about is 3 different species that you have in your backyards and you might not even know it, other than the bumblebee. Everybody knows a bumblebee, flying teddy bear of the insect world. If you Google bumblebee, they're probably one of the most docile, friendliest bees on the planet Earth, right along with a carniolan honeybee. Okay, extremely docile. It's really hard to get stung by a bumblebee. They're just too busy doing their thing, you know. So, bumblebees, leafcutter bees, and mason bees. Those are 3 different types of bees that are very, very common here in New England. And there's some handouts that I passed around. So I circled them in yellow so you can see what they look like. Okay, we all know what a bumblebee looks like. So what I want to do is just tell you a little brief history about these 3 types of bees. They're a little bit of their life cycle and what we can do to attract them to our backyards. Okay, so the bumblebee, starting this time of year, we're going to go backwards. This time of year, we all know what bumblebees look like. You see the really big bumblebees? They're like huge. You're like, oh my God, that thing's huge. Well, that's a female. That is a female, what you're seeing. And when you see a small bumblebee, half the size of the female, that's a male bumblebee. And you're only seeing male bumblebees this time of year. You will not see male bumblebees in the early spring, and I'll explain that in a minute. So right now you're seeing a mix of males and females, or workers and drones. Drones are the male bees. Okay? They've all left the hive, oh well, I shouldn't call it a hive, their nest. They have all left the nest for the last time. They're all on their own right now. So every bumblebee that you're seeing right now is not returning to their nest. The old queen has died. Okay, we're in late summer, early fall. Okay, so what you're seeing is a mix of male and female bees. So now the male's only goal in life is to mate with a virgin female, with a queen, as with all bees. Male bees don't do any work around any of the hives or nests. Their sole purpose is to mate. And once they mate, they die. So I'm glad I'm not a bee. But anyway, so this time of year you're seeing males and females, okay? So what's going to happen here as we get into late fall is the male bees, once they find a mate, they're going to die off. Only the mated females will survive the winter, okay? So what's going to happen is she's going to survive. She's going to find some leaf litter. She's going to dig down in some leaf litter somewhere and hibernate through the winter, okay? Once spring emerges, you get a little bit warmer weather. The dandelions are out. The forsythias are blooming. Tulips, daffodils, all those things start to come out. You start to see last year's queen only. So in the spring, you're seeing that big bumblebee. That is last year's queen. There's no other bees out there right now. So now what's going to happen is she's going to go out and collect nectar, pollen, whatever she can find, whatever's available. That's why it's important. At that time of year in the spring is extremely important that you leave dandelions in your yard. It's a movement across the United States called No Mow May. Okay? I like saying that. No Mow May. It means you do not mow your lawn in May. Leave the dandelions. Okay? They're extremely important food source for native pollinators. When I say native pollinators, I'm talking about bees that are native to your region. Okay? They're not imported, they're not like honeybees. Okay? So bumblebees are native to here. There's some 240 species of bumblebees worldwide. Around 40 of them can be found right here in North America. So she's going to go out, find her nectar, find whatever food source she can get. She's going to find a new nesting spot. They do not make nests, do not build nests, do not construct anything. She'll find an abandoned, they're mostly ground dwelling bees. She will find an abandoned chipmunk hole, mouse hole, a natural crevice under some logs, under an old shed, wherever she can find a habitat suitable to lay eggs in. She will construct, she actually can make wax. She will construct little cups all around her, little wax cups, and fill them with nectar. Okay? She will lay her group of eggs, maybe 100 eggs. They look like a bunch of grapes, tiny little grapes, all gooey and kind of weird looking. But she'll set on top of those eggs and vibrate her body. When the weather is cold, because we know how it's like in springtime here, you get those chilly days and windy, crappy, drizzly days, and she can't get out and fly. George probably mentioned about butterflies, the same thing, 50 degrees or so. Yeah. They can't fly. They don't like the cold. They don't like the cold. Bumblebees are pretty tough though. They're out there when it's a little chilly. But she'll vibrate, and when she runs out of energy, she will drink nectar from those little wax cups to keep her energy up. Because what is nectar? Nectar is carbohydrates, right? Energy, right? Pollen, protein, like eating a steak, you know? But that's what happens. And finally, after a couple of weeks of misery, of shivering for weeks on end, drinking little sips of nectar to keep her energy up, she will hatch out her first cluster of eggs. They will be all females, no males, all females. So now you're into May, June, whatever, you're seeing more bumblebees. They're all females, just so you know. Okay, no males. Their life cycle ends, right? She's late. Now she can relax. Now she has a workforce. She's got 200-300 worker bees that can help her out. She can relax a little bit, comfortable in the nest, laying her eggs. She doesn't have to go out and forage for herself. She could just lay eggs. She'll lay another batch of eggs. That will be all females. Finally, about this time of year, late summer, early fall, she will lay her last clutch of eggs. Then there'll be a mix of male and female and the old queen will die. She'll live for about a year. So now we're back to where I started. This is where we are. We're seeing males and females. They're the only ones left to carry on next year's generation. So what can you do to attract bumblebees? Not a whole lot. They're pretty prevalent. You know, one, lots of flowers, native flowers, and most importantly is to leave your leaf litter in your yards. Do not rake up all your leaves. It's okay if you want to rake it off the grass. But if you have shrubs and bushes and woodlands, front, back, side, whatever, and you got lots of leaves, leave those leaves, clean them up in the spring. Because that is insulation, not only for bumblebees, but for other beneficial insects and pollinators that bury themselves and hibernate for the winter. So that's a little bit of history about bumblebees that you probably didn't even know. It's pretty interesting, I thought. Okay, they typically live in nests of around 100 to 400 bumblebees or so. And they're mostly ground dwelling.
Well, that explains why you see some bees sometimes, they're just, all of a sudden they're dead somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Bumblebees are pretty large. They live quite a long time. They can live for a couple months. Whereas like honeybees live on an average of 30 days.
Yeah, really?
You know, yeah. Working female bees, yeah, they live about 30. That's why they're always being replaced. That's why the queen lays 2,000 eggs a day. They're just constantly being replaced. So next up is, so that's a little bit about our humble bumblebee, which I love bumblebees. They're super, super friendly. I mean, they're just as docile as a bee comes. Mm-hmm. Next up, another bee that you probably don't know what it is, but you'll see it in your backyard, is a mason bee. If you look on that piece of paper, I circled it. They kind of look like a giant housefly. They kind of look like a small bumblebee. They can be brown and stripes. They can be all black, all different colors. Mason bees and leafcutter bees is how I kind of got hooked into honeybees. You can actually purchase these online, so we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, next up is mason bees. So in the springtime, when you're seeing all your dandelions and all your forsythias and tulips and all those things are blooming, you start to see bumblebees. About the same time, you're going to see mason bees. Okay? These are solitary bees. One female that has overwintered. Okay? She's out doing her thing. Mason bees are called mason bees because they require a water source. They make mud, like mud. That's how they seal up. If you see that box right there, Pam? Yep. If you could just pass that around, show people. This is a mason bee house. You can purchase these online, Amazon, even better, you can build them. I've made dozens of them at home. They're fun, great winter project out of old logs and drilling holes in them and stuff like that, setting them up around the house. But the mason bee comes around about the same time. They're very short-lived, about 8 weeks. Prolific pollinators. It's said that one mason bee can do the work of around 300 honeybees. Okay? Yeah. It's just the sheer number of honeybees can greatly outnumber one mason bee. Super docile, small, pretty tough little bee. So to have these bees in your yard, you probably already have them here and there, you just don't know what they are. They're long gone now, but they're strictly kind of a cool weather bee. They like the cooler weather. They're used to pollinate blueberries and apples. They bring in almost hives, thousands of hives of mason bees to pollinate crops. That's how prolific they are. So to attract them to your yard, along with all the other bees, one, you got to have a grocery store. I think we all know that. Native plants, flowers, vegetable gardens, you got to have a food source. Secondly, you have to have a nesting area to keep them and attract them to your backyard. Okay, you can purchase these or make these. Pollinated pathway is a great resource if you're looking at how to build a native bee house. They're super easy to make. They're not difficult, they're not expensive. Those are mason bee tubes They're paper tubes that you can buy on Amazon, wicked cheap. You can make these little houses or purchase them on Amazon, but beware, do not use bamboo. You'll see a lot of crap on Amazon. Bamboo is no good. It doesn't breathe. They won't use it. They'll just ignore it. It needs to be natural reed material or, hi Tammy, natural reed material or the paper. These are easily replaced, okay? So you hang these up about 5 feet up, eye level, okay, near your gardens, whatever. Bird bath, water source, make mud. So what's going to happen is, again, they are solitary bees by themselves, super friendly. I sat here, I had hundreds of them this year. It was, they tend to go in cycles. Like a couple years ago, there were hardly any. And then last year, it was okay. This year, they were just everywhere. But I can literally put my face right next to them, and they just go in and out, in and out, in and out. These are great if you have grandchildren, small kids. You want to teach them about natural pollinators. These are the way to go. Same thing with leafcutter bees, which I'll get to. But the mason bee, solitary, prolific pollinator, what's going to happen is she's going to go out and get her resources, pollen, mostly pollen, not so much nectar. They like these tubes, so they will seek out natural cavity, an old shed, barn, log pile, something like that in a tree. They like to have a long, narrow cavity. So these are 8 millimeter. These tubes are specifically made for mason bees. They're 8 millimeter, whatever that is in inches. I don't know, what is that, 3/8? What's
pretty small.
Okay. So they need to be like this. They need to be like at least 6 inches deep, natural reeds or paper, okay? She will back her little bum in there, and I wish we had a video screen because I have videos, all kinds of stuff of activity of the bees. Maybe someday we can have like a video or something. That would be cool. But she'll back in, lay an egg, pack it with pollen, seal it with the mud that she made from the water and the dirt, lay an egg, keep going, until that whole tube is filled up, okay? And they'll just keep going. And multiple bees, they all get along, they share, they just boom, boom, boom. That's why if you notice that there's some odd colored, like, colors in there so they can get a visual. That's how they orient themselves to where they're gonna go. But she'll do that. These eggs will overwinter, or you can bring them in the house. I like to bring them into the garage so they're not subject to the weather so much, because you'll get a much better hatch rate in the spring if you put them in some place, take it out, put it in the garage or in the shed so it's protected by the weather. But you want to hang these facing southeast, about eye level. These little tiny bees fly around eye level. They don't fly way up the treetops like honeybees, okay? They're extremely docile, extremely beneficial for your garden, especially early spring flowering plants and vegetables, like peas and stuff like that. So that's kind of their life cycle, okay? They're very prevalent here. You just probably don't know what you're looking at, okay? And then, hey, honey, pick up that individual one. Show that to everybody with the grass sticking out of it. Can you see the grass sticking out of that? The dead grass? And then there's a few in there too. And it's a funny thing, I have a whole bunch of these. I bought this on Amazon a couple years ago, and I've never had one single bee in it. I made a whole bunch of them myself out of wood, an old cedar log, and drilled 8 millimeter holes in it and kind of cut it at an angle, and so it kind of pointed down so water doesn't run in it. I made half a dozen of those, and I screw them on posts all around my yard. They just filled every single one of them up. They loved it. They just ignored that one. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, maybe that's the only thing I had. Maybe that's what they would go to. But you see, what's going to happen is you're going to get another beneficial insect at the same time that's going to share that same nesting area. And hold that up again, hon. This is actually a wasp. There's actually wasp eggs in there right now. That's a beneficial wasp. It's called grass-carrying wasp. And you guys have seen them, you just don't know what you're looking at. Especially on white, flat flowers like daisies, they're very attracted to those type of flat, white flowers. You ever seen a wasp thing, small, translucent, and between its abdomen and thorax is almost like a thread? You ever seen that? It's like, it almost looks like a thread. You're like, oh, what the heck is that? That's a beneficial wasp. They're solitary, beneficial wasps. So they're going to coincide with mason bees and leafcutter bees and lay in the same things. So don't be alarmed if you see a bunch of dead grass hanging out there. It's a good thing, okay? It's a good thing. So that's kind of the life cycle of the mason bee. So next up now, we get into summer. It's hot, 70 degrees above, 70 something so. Next up, leafcutter bee. Okay, you can see those pictures of the leafcutter bee, kind of long, flat type of bee. Again, these are solitary bees. They are strictly summer bees. They do not like the cold weather. All right, they will not fly. They are almost the same as a mason bee, extremely prolific in pollination, great for your gardens, super, super docile. You'll never get stung by a mason bee or a leafcutter bee. And if they do sting you, I've read that it's like a mosquito bite because they're so small. Okay? Super great for kids. Same type of house, same type of thing, but smaller. 6 millimeter. 6 inches deep. Okay? You can purchase these online. There's a great place if you're interested in having leafcutter bees or mason bees in your backyard. I highly encourage you to go on crownbees.com. Okay, you can actually purchase all these homes, all these houses, and live cocoons. They ship them to your house at the right time of year. Usually a 200 count of cocoons. You put them in the little houses, you open the little bag, and release them. And that's how you kind of get them established in your yard. Okay, because if you're just trying to attract them, yeah, it's, 50-50. I don't know. But the leafcutter bee, if you ever seen, similar to the mason bee, she will lay her eggs in those tubes, smaller, 6 millimeter. She'll back in, lay an egg, pack it with pollen, all right? Then she seals it with chewed leaves. So if you ever see your leaves on your vegetable gardens and flowers, kind of got like a half moon taken out of them, okay? That's a leafcutter bee. So that's what she'll actually cut that little leaf out, carry it back, chew it up, mix it with enzymes, saliva, with her mandibles, and then pack it in. So she'll lay an egg, pollen, seal it, egg, pollen, seal it, all the way out. The funny thing is, they only live about 8 weeks like mason bees, and then she dies. So that's your next generation is in that little box, okay? And the funny thing about leafcutter bees is the last 4 or 5 bees, eggs that she lays are unfertilized, meaning they will be male bees, right? So the last 4 or 5 are male bees. They're a little bit longer, a little bit bigger. So what happens when they hatch out in the spring, they will actually help the females get out. They'll go in and chew that stuff out, whatever in the leaf, and help release the female bees. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So how do we attract mason bees, leafcutter bees? Same thing. You got to have a grocery store. You got to have a water source. You got to have nesting areas. Okay, these nest boxes are easy to make. Pollinator pathway, wealth of information on how to build native bee houses, how to attract native bees, what plants to plant. I can't say enough about that website. It's a great resource if you're interested. It's a great hobby to get into. It's a great overwinter project. Long, cold winter, build some native bee houses. Add some little decor to your backyard. It adds a little visual interest. Attract these native pollinators because they definitely need our help. Okay? So, I'm trying to think what else. So those are 3 most prevalent bees, along with thousands and thousands of other bees: cellophane bees, cuckoo bees, bumblebees, honeybees, cellophane bees. But this year, they tend to go in cycles. Like I said, I had a ton of mason bees. They were just everywhere. This year, not so much on the leafcutter bees. I don't know why. A couple years ago, I had a lot of leafcutter bees. I only seen a few this year. But I'm telling you right now, helping to attract these native pollinators, they are the ones that need our help. Okay? It's the same sad story. Loss of habitat, pesticides are huge. That may be a subject for next year, because I'm so adamant about not using pesticides. It's a horrible thing, you know. Everybody wants to control ticks and mosquitoes and do all that spraying stuff. It's not necessary. You're wasting your money. So that might be something else I can talk about next year. All right, but for now, I just wanted to enlighten you a little bit on a few native pollinators that are in your backyard right now, how you can attract them and keep them in your backyard so you have better vegetable garden. I tell you, if your cucumbers curling, you don't have enough pollinators. That simply means that that cucumber was not fully pollinated. If they're nice and straight and fat, then you have enough pollinators. That's one thing you can look for. I don't know about you guys, but my cucumbers were kind of this year. You know, everything else was great, but the cucumbers, I don't know, they had a hard time. So any questions? I think that's how do I want to say?
Are there any natural predators of bees?
There's tons of them, especially with these bees. If you leave, that's why I bring them inside. There's these little tiny mites. That's why you want to replace these tubes every year. That's why they're cheap. So every year, if you buy a house like this with the little paper tubes, you'll want to clean them out, put fresh ones in every year, because they get these little microscopic mites and they eat the eggs. You know, everything wants to eat everything else in nature. You know what I mean? So they do have problems. Other than that, they're pretty much pest-free. It's only when they're in that larva stage type of thing. Honeybees have a lot of problems. That's a whole nother, with invasive species, the varroa mites and small hive beetles and pathogens and just a list of things. It's very difficult to keep honeybees alive today. Okay, extremely difficult. Yes, ma'am.
When you drill into like a log, like you said you did,
Yeah.
How do you know when you can clean that out? What do you do? Just re-drill it?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I did. Like in the spring after they come out, because they're all sealed up with mud right now. You know, once I see they're uncapped, I'll just take my drill bit and just kind of ream it out, and they'll use it all over again.
So that would be sometime in the spring?
Well, you just have to look at it. You can see that they're all, it's like, almost looks like cement, because it's, you know, it's hard.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
They don't go back to that once
No, the old queen, she's died. This is the next generation that's in there right now. That's why I don't like to leave them outside.
Right.
I will bring them in, not in the house, but, you know, put them in the shed or in the garage or something where it's cold, but not freezing exposed to the weather and the crappy weather we have, you know, because it helps them out, helps them survive the winter, you know, and they're easy to do. I mean, it's really nothing. It's not like having honeybees where it's just never-ending work and, you know, expensive. You know, this is dirt cheap, and it's, like I said, I had the best garden I've ever had in my entire life this year. It's just amazing, and it's still going. It's because not only do I have native bees and honeybees, but I never seen so many butterflies and swallowtails and monarchs and squash beetles and hummingbirds, and all that stuff is attracted. You know, build it, they will come. If you have a good grocery store, you're going to get everything. You know what I mean? So I encourage you to plant a lot of spring flowers, and especially this time of year, we're going into late summer, early fall. This is one of the most important times for our pollinators. Okay, they're preparing for winter, so you need 3 seasons of plants. You need all your fall plants right now. All your asters, goldenrod, echinacea, coneflowers, all those native things, Rose of Sharon. Do you know what one of the last thing I paid attention last year? I made a note. You know what the last thing to bloom in my yard was last year? Think about it. The very last thing that produced flowers.
Montauk.
You got it, George. Montauk daisy. It's one of the last things, and there were bees all over that. You know, there wasn't. I don't remember being bumblebees, but there were. I don't even know what they were. There were so many different bees. But I like to pay attention. I go out in my gardens. Like I said, I have thousands and thousands of perennials, and you name it. So I like to go out and pay attention and actually see what's going on. I actually tried to document every bee, different type of bee. Last year I gave up because there's just too many. I'm like, okay, this is not working. You know what I mean? It's not worth it, you know. But I've never, ever, I've had native bees. I've built and had these habitats for probably 20 years. I've never been stung by one of those bees. Honeybees, yes.
What are the bees that are stinging everybody now? I've got my sister who's down in Card over there, had a bee.
Probably yellow jackets.
And, oh my God, her knee just blew up like this.
Probably yellow jackets. They're everywhere this time of year. And they're not a bee, they're a wasp.
Oh, they're a wasp?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yellow and black stripes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. They're attracted to sugar, sugary drinks and all that, sodas and all that good stuff, you know.
Apples. They look
Apples, yeah. I grew up in southwest Ohio as a kid. I lived in the middle of an apple orchard. I hated those damn. Every year my father would rake up a pile of apples that were 10 feet tall, and there would just be zillions of those bees. I learned to hate them as I was a kid, you know. But now I fight them because yellow jackets are actually a nemesis of honeybees. And this time of year, they're looking for any food source, specifically protein. They'll go in and rob a hive and take the eggs out to feed their young. So constantly battling yellow jackets this time of year. So I actually make traps, try to trap them, to try to keep them in check, kind of like chipmunks. You know, if you don't keep them under control, they'll kind of take over everything, you know what I mean? I mean, the chipmunks climb up in my peach tree and eat all my peaches, and they drop it, you know, like, yeah. You gotta go. So I hope you guys can do something over the winter. Now's a good time to do a little bit of research, how to attract native pollinators to your backyard. You'll be happy you did. You're gonna have a better garden, more beautiful flowers, I guarantee you. Okay, if you can attract native pollinators to your backyard, because they really, really, really need our help. Honeybees do not need our help, okay? No matter what you've heard about honeybees, they don't need our help. We treat them like livestock. We breed them by the millions. We cannot do that with native pollinators. They are mostly solitary bees. We can't pick them up, pack them in a box, move them around from place to place. It's impossible. So best that we can do is provide food source and a nesting place for them and a wintering place. The 3 important things that you can do for our native pollinators. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Goodbye.